Hi, my name's Tom, and I'm here to talk about this new Yardian smart sprinkler and security system. Yardian provided me with this as a demo model to go ahead and review and to give my honest opinion of it. And they actually sent it to me a while ago, but when I received it, I did an open box video and I was all excited about it. But as I was opening up my sprinkler system that year, my irrigation system in my lawn, one of the master valves had went bad. And I didn't know that, so I spent most of the summer trying to troubleshoot it and not getting anything working. And then this year I went ahead and just paid someone to come in and fix it on the fly. But now I'm up and running with my Yardian sprinkler system, and now I can kind of give an honest review of what this can and can't do. And it can do some amazing things. It is probably the top-notch sprinkler system I've ever seen. But the Guardian side of things, it's leaves something to be desired. But we'll get there in a moment. I want to talk about the hardware first. So again, it's a typical sprinkler system, smart system. It does Wi-Fi, 2.4 gigahertz. It's controlled by an app that you use on your iPhone, your iPad, or even your Android device. All three are available, and all three are free. And the way it works is, I'm going to go ahead and show it to you on my wall right now. There it is. There's the actual system. This is pretty much all there is to it. It is waterproof and rainproof because you can mount it outside. And there's a power cord which actually just plugs in, and then these little brown cords, they actually go out to my sprinkler control box, or my sprinkler valve, my switches. So here I'm going to open up, I'm going to take the cover off, and here you can see it's kind of like a typical sprinkler control system. It controls up to 8 zones if you want. There is a rain sensor port on it. You can actually open this up. Whoops. I can actually open this up, probably not with one hand, and I can just pull the wires in and out. It just clicks in and out, really, really easy. Setup was very, very simple. You basically plug it in, download the app, do a couple little steps where it syncs together, and that's pretty much all there is to it. This, again, is a security camera. We'll talk about that in a moment. And the light here kind of shows you your status of what you are for, or your Wi-Fi. It could be blinking, it can be red, it can be a couple different things. I've had a couple different times I've had power outages or even I've changed my router, and this thing has actually popped back on pretty easily. So it's a pretty good Wi-Fi system. I've never had any problems with it, but you know, it's Wi-Fi, so things can get a little crazy sometimes trying to get all these different internet devices back on. It does work with, I believe, Google Home. I believe it works with Alexa, if this then that. If you check out their website, there'll be a whole bunch of other things. They're constantly adding new features, which is actually kind of one of the nice parts about this, is that because the whole thing is app enabled, it's just nothing more than a bunch of switches that are controlled by the app. You actually have some more features they can actually push out via the app, via software, as time goes on. So that's actually been pretty nice. Okay, so let's talk about the installing of it. Well, first of all, like I said, I just installed it with the app. Really straightforward. You just follow the steps. There's actually a little book in the, a little manual, a little paper manual in the box that comes with it. But then when you open up the app, it actually kind of walks you through it as well. And you can control multiple units if you really need to. So again, let's talk about this. My unit is up here on the wall. It's actually up in the top of my garage. It's actually pointing out to my garage. My car's out there. So this is up here for a reason, and the reason is because it's got a security camera on it. Security camera is right there built into the actual unit. So wherever you install this thing is where you're going to be pointing your security camera. And that is a big minus in my book, because most people have a sprinkler system not sitting out pointing across their yard, but rather it's in their garage somewhere. I've actually recommended this to 2 different people, and both other people had their sprinkler system boxes in weird places. One had it in the basement, and the other had it in the garage corner, kind of facing into the garage. For me, same thing. My sprinkler system box was not up in the top wall. In fact, you can kind of see what I did. I took some sprinkler extension cord, basically just thermostat cord with 5 wires in it, and I extended it back around the wall, back around this old fridge here, back. And here, behind this fridge, on this wall, right here, that was where my old manual sprinkler timer box was. And it's been there for years. It's how they installed this irrigation system. It was right here behind the fridge. If I wanted to actually control anything, I just reach back and just hit a little buttons. I can sometimes push the fridge out a little bit, but no big deal. However, If I had put the Yardian right here, I would have had my security camera pointing into the back of a fridge. So that's kind of an issue, is that the security camera, that's great. But for the most part, when you're replacing an old sprinkler system, it's not going to be in a place conducive to having a security camera. You can see that I literally just spliced all the wires together, ran an extension cord, and put it up here just so I could kind of test out the security system and make sure it actually works. And it does. It's okay. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the software app in a moment. The one thing you can do with this, or kind of supposed to do with this, is install this thing outside for the security features. So again, it's waterproof, rainproof, snowproof, whatever. You could put it out on your front yard lawn and then run these two cords into your house, into your security, or into your sprinkler system, into a power outlet, and then you can go ahead and you could have a monitoring your system with the actual security camera. Again, this is actually an outlet that's not hardwired. You could obviously cut it off, and you could obviously hardwire it, but again, you need to have some electrical knowledge to be able to do that. So that's the hardware portion of it. The real genius of this thing, the real power of the Yardian, is this software. And the software is pretty darn good and getting better all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the app up, and I'll kind of show you some of the features. I'm not going to go through every single feature and every single tool how to use it, because it's changing pretty regularly. They've rolled out a couple new updates in the last couple months. They've rolled out something for master valves. You can control them. They've rolled out some extra rain stuff and some extra conditional programming. It's actually pretty clever and getting more clever. The interface is not amazing in my mind. I think it could be a little simpler. But let me just go ahead and pull the app up, and I'll show you some of the cool things. So now let's take a look at the Yardian app. I am looking at the Yardian on an iPhone, but it does work on the Google Android as well as iPad. You can do multiple devices. So once you log in, and the login is usually automatic, I have it saving my password, you're given this home screen. And the home screen is just the start of about 4 or 5 different tabs as you see along the bottom. There are settings where you can set up your local weather station. Here I can see my device is actually turned on, and I have a little super duper button for stopping all watering activities. Next, I go down to the watering schedule. I don't have any sort of a watering schedule set up, but I have played around with some manual settings, and so I have some timings there. You can see the weather report is there. I can tell it to skip rules under certain conditions. So maybe like don't rain or don't water if the chance of rain is over 80%. You can change Celsius and Fahrenheit and kind of play around with this and set this up. Again, it's hyper local weather. You can use local weather stations as well as like neighborhood weather stations. When I go looking for weather stations in the settings, I can find all sorts of options. Water restrictions, that will actually take you to a page which will find local water restrictions in place, and it can then in some cases actually apply the rules. So if you're only allowed to water on certain days of the week, this will actually set your schedule to follow that. Total water used. As long as you have your sprinkler head set up and it's kind of monitoring what you've used, you can get a general idea of how much water you've actually used. This is kind of a nice feature, and the whole idea is to actually save money on watering. Yardian messages will actually tell you what started and what has stopped. So here I have some different zones that I've turned on and off various days. And I also have video messages. So this is motion detected, motion detected. Again, it's just my garage, so I don't actually do anything with it. I can't actually click and see anything here, but it does tell me that something actually happened. News is news about Yardian, and as you can tell, here we have a new master valve by zone feature. They do update the app fairly frequently. There are new features added every couple months. You have a whole bunch of new features, or at least a little bit more layout. And then there's a support center which is actually built into the app. That's kind of nice, because 1 or 2 times I've actually had some questions and I can go poking around in here, and it just goes out to a website where the website is actually actively kept up and updated. So there's my home settings. Now I'm going to go bouncing around the bottom here. I'm going to go to control. And there's a couple different ways you can do control. Control is sort of just your manual buttons, so you can go ahead and you can skip different watering tasks, but you can also go ahead and go into settings, and you can turn things on and off. I'll turn on all 4 hoses, or all 4 zones, and I'll say, let's say everything for, let's say 7 minutes. and I will go back, and if I hit play, it will just go ahead and start rotating through one side, the next, the next, and the next. Each yard section or each sprinkler head will go ahead and run in succession. It won't run them in at the same time, obviously, because you only have so much water pressure in your house. Let's go to yard. Yard is where you actually set up what your yard consists of. So I have, for an example, I have a driveway side. It's one of my zones. The next zone is a front yard, pool side, and then a hose. I actually have a hose hooked up to a sprinkler head. I'll talk about that in another video. You can put up a photo of your yard. You can see my little photo of my yard is there. And then you set up, I'll click on it, and then you can set up, there's my photo. You can go ahead and test it to water it. You can go ahead and change the name of it. You can enable or disable it if you're doing maintenance on it. Then you set up what kind of plants you have in there, your sprinkler head types. So plants, you have all kind of different cactuses and ground cover and shrubs and whatnot. You have your sprinkler heads, which kind of sprinkler you have. There we go. You have your soil types. A lot of different soil types. You can even go ahead and add a little bit. A lot of this is pretty much over my head. Obviously, exposure, slope, zone, how big it is, number of sprinkler heads, only one. Well, actually, I have actually more than that. I just didn't bother setting it up, to be honest with you. But the whole idea here is that you can use these settings to, have a name of where the zones are, but it will actually use these settings in the smart control and kind of guess how much water it actually needs. And right now, my app goes up to 8 different zones for my sprinkler, but I only have 4 at my house. Program. There's a lot of different features in here. It by far is one of the most complex features, rich programming systems I've ever seen. I'll click on Smart Program. I can set up smart programs for different zones. I can go ahead and put some manual, some automatic. I haven't actually gone playing around with this too much. I've just been goofing around. I did have a smart program at one point, but I just found that it was just too much. My yard just isn't worth doing all this work for. And then again, you can apply water restrictions here, but you can set up a smart program which will kind of figure out by following the weather and the sprinkler head type and the ground type how much water is actually needed. The manual, again, you can kind of set up your own manual schedule where you can say, okay, every other day I want to run from 4 a.m. for 5 minutes or 10 minutes or whatever. Playing around with this, it works. It's fine. I do feel as though the user interface could be a little more user-friendly. There's a lot of bouncing between menus, and it's not necessarily set up exactly the way how an iPhone would normally do a scheduling. Android, again, they probably have a standard scheduling method. It's a little odd. And again, I didn't even name my programs very well. I was just playing around. Again, I had them running for a bit, and I just said, heck with it. What I do now is I literally, when I check the weather each morning. I go out to control, and I turn on how much I think watering needs to be done manually. But I'm also in lockdown for the last 6 months, so I can kind of keep an eye on my yard that I may not normally be able to. Go back to program. There's also conditional programming where you can set up special conditional programs. You can say, hey, this is my conditional program, next step. Okay, same idea. I can apply it to different zones, and then I can go ahead and set up different schedules and different temperature thresholds and zone delays. So I can basically build in a little extra. So maybe if it's over 105 degrees on a day where I'm not normally watering, then maybe it will water anyway. And again, all this is kind of built in. You have to kind of play around with it and kind of click around before you can figure it all out. But that's really how you control the sprinkler system. It is pretty sophisticated. It does work fairly well. I've made settings on the fly, and I walked out in my yard, and they just instantly applied, and my sprinklers started to sprinkle right away. It is pretty nice and quick. One of the cool things that I like to do is because I have this zone 4 is set up to my hose. If I click on that, what I like to do is I like to go into this, set control, go to settings, turn everything off, hit hose, and say, okay, I'm going to turn the hose on. So I can be on one side of the yard, walk away with the hose, turn the hose on, oops, come on, if I just hit play, my hose will now be on for 25 minutes. So I can go ahead and wash the car, as long as if I have a faucet or a sprinkler head on the hose, I can just turn it on, spray all the water down, turn it all off, throw the hose to the side and walk away. I don't have to remember to walk to the other side of the yard, go behind the fence, and turn off the water. Once I get inside, I can sit inside, have a beer, and say, oh my gosh, I have to go ahead and turn off the water. I just go in here, I'll hit play real quick. So in a second, it's just going to basically turn the water on, and now my hose is running. Now I have a sprinkler head or a sprayer on the end of my hose, so no water is actually going out, but the water's turned on, the pressure is there. All I have to do once I go inside, have my beer, and say, oh, I forgot to turn off the water, I just go in here, hit stop, and it stops. And that's the end of that. Real convenient, real easy. I've even had my wife just yell at me, hey, can you turn the water on? From my phone, I'll just sit and do it from the couch. I'll go ahead and go to video now. This is where you have your security system. I'll give it a minute to load. So here are some screenshots, some captures of my garage. And you remember it was up on the wall. I can do live video. Is this going to show me portrait? This is going to be portrait. I can flip it and get the landscape. There you go. There's my live garage. Pretty exciting. 2 cars in a garage. There we go. I'll close that up. You can go ahead and click on multiple clips, and it takes a 30-second clip. There you go. That does take sound as well. It does record the sound when the alert comes on. Turn that back. So I did set up alerts. There is some cloud recording. I have not actually done much with that. I believe that's where the clips are actually saved. There is an alert. I can turn an alert on. I get a little message on my phone whenever something crosses the threshold or sensitivity. In fact, what I'll do, I'm not even sure if I can pop in. I'll go ahead and go to live view and I'll show you what it looks like. You can also enable Repellent down below. Enable Repellent means that you can actually have one of your sprinkler systems turn on when something is in front of the camera. So if you have deer or if you have larger animals that are constantly in your lawn and you want to scare them away, you would turn this on. Whenever a deer walks in front of your camera, the sprinkler system turns on for, in this case, 10 seconds, sprays them, scares them away, and that's the end of it. So I will go ahead and do, let's see here, alert, and I'll even go ahead and do live. And now I will walk out. You see me here? It's a little dark, but I'm going to wave, hello, and there is an alert. I'm not sure if you can actually see the alert on the screen, but I can, and I'm waving on the video. Again, it's my closed garage with no lights, but we have something. And I'll close it up. And there we go. The alerts are not particularly exciting. They don't allow me to instantly see photos. I would love it if I had an alert where I could see a snapshot of the alert or what the problem was or what the issue is in front of the camera. I would love it if I could click on the alert and then instantly go to the video. Those don't actually seem to happen on my phone. It's pretty basic. It works, but it's pretty basic. I can't speak through the camera. It's not like a doorbell. I don't have a whole lot of recordings here. It works. It's great, but it's not. You would not buy the Yardian for the security camera. You're going to buy it for the sprinkler system and for the cool features it has. It has almost too many features, and they're almost too complex or too smart for me and my lawn. But if you are a gardener or you're a landscaper and you really like your lawn and you're really good at it, you know exactly how much watering is needed, or you want to go ahead and kind of let the system take over and kind of make recommendations, this is the way to go. If I had a new house with new landscaping, I would definitely go ahead and set this up and kind of let it go and let it do its thing, which it probably knows better than I do. But again, I'm not that guy. But it does have capability there. It has a lot of depth, but it's also pretty simple. So again, if I want to manually turn things on, I just go to control and do what I got to do. If I want to use smart program or do if then that, Google Home, all the other different features, Amazon Alexa, they're all in there as well. So there you have it. That's a quick overview of the Yardian Smart Sprinkler and Security System. I love the sprinkler aspects of it. It's a great timer, controller, the app is wonderful, all the different features are great. Security system wise, I could really take it or leave it, to be honest with you. But here's the selling point. It's one of the lower priced smart sprinkler systems out there. You can buy this directly from Amazon. You can have it at your house in 2 or 3 days if you're a Prime member. It's one of the cheaper ones in the whole pricing scheme, and it's well worth it. Sometimes there are coupons, sometimes there are sales. You gotta kind of keep your eye on them. It's well worth it, especially if you happen to have a security area where you can mount this. Hey man, you're set. It's a no-brainer to get a security system and a sprinkler system together. But for the sprinkler system alone, it runs about $130 for this unit. That's well worth it. When some of the other sprinkler systems are $150, $170, even $200, and they all do essentially the same thing. They turn the water on, they turn the water off with a whole bunch of different schedules and different features. That's pretty much what this does, but again, for a lot less. So it's really, really well worth it. I would definitely buy it. If Yardian hadn't given me one, I probably would have gone ahead and done the research and probably tried this one or one other one. It's actually pretty clever. I've never had a problem in the time that I've been using it. Wi-Fi's been great, the controller's great, the software is great, and they're still supporting it. So from a cost perspective and a feature perspective, definitely a great sprinkler system. For a security system, hey, it's an added bonus, go for it. I might turn on the alerts in my garage just in case. I don't have any problems in my neighborhood, but just in case something happens, I'll have it there. I'll be woken up in the middle of the night and I'll get a little alert. So if you're looking at sprinkler systems, definitely go for the Yardian. It's well worth the money. It's affordable, it's feature rich, and it works great. If you like review videos like this, where I take a product and kind of run it through the paces and kind of show you all the features, unscripted, then by all means, like, subscribe, leave a comment down below, ask questions. I will try to answer them down below, especially about the Yardian or any other products you see on here. I don't do a lot of product reviews simply because I'm a pretty busy guy, but I do enjoy doing them. I like playing around and fiddling with them, and the Yardian's been a fun thing to fiddle with because there's a whole bunch of cool stuff in there. So again, go ahead and like, hit the bell, subscribe, whatever you do on YouTube, and I appreciate you watching. Thanks a lot.